Start by asking Mandy from the RMT to speak, and then we'll have someone from the CW, etc., and others that want to come in support of the RMT. So Mandy, would you like to say a few words?
Well done, man.
Morning, comrades. I'd like to thank you sincerely for your attendance. It's a very difficult time, and I would like to say, when they talk about modernisation in the railways, they've been modernising the railways for the last 20-25 years, and as for us on services, they're coming after us fast and hard. But we have taken that step, as I've been told this week, into the water, and you're all swimming behind us. So I think we are going to be united, and this strike for me takes us back a long time, to the struggle of the miners. But it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a difficult fight, and it is for every single person, not only workers but for families and individuals who are struggling. So for the solidarity across the city, thank you all sincerely. There's a few branch secretaries from sister unions who wish to speak, but sincerely from the bottom of my heart, and for my colleagues who stand in solidarity with me here today, I thank you, and we move together and we fight together, and you can all come swimming behind us.
Sorry, it was a miss to say at the start. This has been called, rally has been called by the RMT and Swansea Trades Council, and I'm Mark Evans, President of Swansea Trades Council. Okay, can we have the next speaker?
Morning everyone, Gary Williams, Branch Secretary, South West Wales branch of the CWU. We here this morning to show solidarity with the RMT. What's going on at the moment in this country is absolutely appalling. We just about to ballot 115,000 members for similar reasons as the RMT have pay. Well, purely pay at the moment, because they did offer us a pay rise of 2% with massive strings attached. They've taken that away. They've given us or imposed a pay rise on my members of 2%. When our CEO just given himself £142,000 bonus, bringing his annual pay to £753,000 a year. We've also got Guy from the telecom branch of the CWU here. They are currently going through a ballot of 80,000 members, and that's looking good. So we're hoping to have 120,000 members out on the streets very shortly. I won't keep you any longer, but I'd just like to say again, thank you very much for the invite this morning, and solidarity to the RMT. We are behind you.
Okay, Unite.
Good morning everybody, Barada. Derek Roberts from Unite Retired Members. I'm an Equalities Officer for my branch, but I'm also a member of the National Committee of Retired Members of Unite. And I know I can speak for our General Secretary, Sharon Graham, that she totally supports this strike. Indeed, she's probably on the picket line herself right now. And if she was here with us, she'd be here now. Now, retired people depend upon the railways for a lot of their travel. And that's why they're supporting this dispute. They can see what's coming down the line. It's going to be more casualisation, much more short-time working, no security and no pensions. That's not acceptable to us retired members, and it shouldn't be acceptable to the younger generations either. You're fighting for your future, you're fighting for your pensions. You have our complete support from Unite Retired Members, and we wish the RMT well in their dispute. If they need any help, get hold of us. Thank you very much.
Okay, got an indication who wants to come in next.
Right, I'm Martin Chapman. I'm from the City Council Unison branch, and the first thing I wanted to do was to say that our branch has been fully supportive of this dispute, and we were very proud to have our branch banner, which is over there at the moment, down here right at the beginning of Tuesday morning at 6 o'clock, and it's been here every day, and the mood amongst our council workers is one of, just like everywhere else where people have seen the dispute, in full support. And we all look on you, the RMT, as people who are representing us in our fight as well, because what you're doing is standing up for all those people who've had to put up with precarious positions, health and safety. We all know health and safety in unison. We've had to fight through the COVID with the least amount of PPE. Health and safety is a big issue, but the other issue, of course, is pay. And I've seen lots of stuff, people saying, well, it's not really about pay, pay is part of it, but I just want to say this, pay is a massive part of it. Pay is, we haven't had a pay rise for so long, and the fact that somebody is now stepping over to say that we are not prepared to put with this any longer is meaning that all our members are watching you to see what happens. So when people say to you, look, don't really talk about the pay much, it's the other things. The other things are really important, but the pay is extremely important in the here and now. I just wanted to say another thing as well. It's, last week we went down to the magnificent trades union TUC demonstration against the cost of living crisis. And I just wanted to say what a brilliant day that was. I stood at the side when I got there and I watched the march going through, and there was loads and loads of new people, young people, loads of trade unionists throughout, and it was a great demo. But the best bit was when the RMT marched past. They had the bands out, they had the placards, they had the banners, they looked confident, they were absolutely fantastic, and they walked past, and it really brought the mood to the march. We went down to the square to hear the speeches, and I think that the march had inspired the speeches too, because the speeches then reflected back to people the anger they got. And one of the speakers was somebody that no one had really heard of before, a guy called Mick Lynch. That was a week ago. This week, he's the most famous and popular speaker in Britain. So big up for Mick Lynch.
Yay!
And I can't believe the way that the media have tried to take him on and how well he's responded. But Piers Morgan trying to get him over the Thunderbirds, the hood, is absolutely ridiculous. He looks stupid. So we're all Spartacus, we're all Mick Lynch, and we're all hood today.
Yay!
You know, there is a thing, isn't there, that some people don't believe what we're saying. They're lacking in confidence, and they get told the same stuff in the schools and the colleges. They get told all the time that we shouldn't be fighting, that we've got to save the economy. And I can see why people who are feeling passive start to accept that. But what really changes people is when working class people go on the offensive and fight back. This changes people's minds. So today, the RMT's dispute has started to change people's minds. Everybody here is changing people's mind, because united we can go on, we can get rid of this government, and we can fight for our conditions, and we can fight for a better world, for peace and socialism.
David Aslef, next.
Okay, David Jones. I'm the Swansea branch secretary of ASLEF, the Train Drivers Union. I'm also the staff side secretary of the Great Western Company Council. So we're right in the middle of this dispute with our sister trade union, the RMT. I'm a little disappointed there aren't more of my own members here this morning. It's a united fight. It's a fight that as an industry we all should be taking head on. We are currently balloting for industrial action. Our ballot result will be out on the 11th of July, and I feel sure 14 days after that will be the first day of action that ASLEF, the Train Drivers Union, will be taking. And we hope that we get similar support for the rest of the labour movement and the wider community. It's great to listen to all these idiots talking about rail modernisation, because we've got some ideas about rail modernisation. That £800 million that they paid this year, not pre-COVID, this year £800 million to shareholders within the rail industry, and we'll bring that back into the industry. See if we can find a little bit of a pay rise out of that. Oh, and the biggest cost to every single train operating company and freight operating company in this country is the cost of hiring rolling stock. If they want to nationalise something, why don't they nationalise the rolling stock? companies and let us rent the rolling stock that they sold off for a song.
Yeah.
The John Major government sold all the rolling stock off for a song in 1996. And those people that bought it for a song have been renting it back to the train companies for years, making millions and millions of pounds. So instead of nationalising the debt and privatising the profit within the rail industry, why don't we nationalise the rolling stock companies? And there's your £2 billion saving that Boris has been talking about since the start of this dispute. So it's my absolute pleasure to be here today supporting our sister trade union RMT, and it's absolutely fantastic to see so many of you from the wider labour movement and the wider trade union movement here today. I think Swansea can send a message to the rest of the country that within solidarity, because we are stronger together. Thank you.
Okay, next we've got Steve Skelly from Regional Officer of the RMT.
Go on, comrades. First and foremost, I'd like to place a thank you all for attending today. I'd like to place on record to pay tribute to the 40,000 RMT men and women who have taken the bold step to take the 3 days of industrial action this week in the face of an onslaught from the employer. And I'd like to offer my sincere thanks to the labour movement, the politicians that have supported us thus far, and the general public in our struggle. And the support has really emboldened us over the last week in the struggle that we're going to be afflicted with and that is to come. The reality is of this dispute is that the government is looking to make 4 billion of cuts to transport expenditure. That's 2 billion from the London Underground system and 2 billion from the national rail network. What they're looking to do is make in the region of what they call, Dave alluded to, £600 million in terms of workforce reforms. And what that means is an attack on thousands of job losses, an attack on existing terms and conditions, and a measly pay rise, and a tax on pension provisions for all. What that means in terms of practical terms for those the members of the general public who use the rail system, what it means is a closure of ticket offices, a reduction in staff, a reduction in safety regimes, and you're basically paying a lot more to get less and have an unsafe railway for all. This is a government who, when we should be looking at an improved transport facility network, what they're looking to do is make swinging cuts, all in the name of profit. They made, on average, £500 million goes out the rail system every year to private firms. Go Ahead and First Group are two of the operators. They are looking currently at having, they are subject to takeover bids by private equity firms because these companies are so profitable. Please do not fool me and tell me that there's no money in the rail system. If there's money for profits, there's money for pay rises for workers. It's as simple as that, and we will not accept it. As I said, the RMT has taken the bold steps to take industrial action. We feel as though we've had no other choice. We've attempted to negotiate with these individuals with the government and the train operating companies and Network Rail for 2 years. We've had no assurances on the key issues of dispute. That is a pay rise, no compulsory redundancies guarantee, and also no changes to our terms and conditions without prior agreement. Instead of sitting down with us and negotiating and reaching a reasonable solution to these key issues, what has the government decided to do? The government has decided to pit worker against worker. They've decided to demonise us, cast us as being overpaid and underworked, and not come to the table with any form of reasonable solution. But it's backfired on them, big time. The reality is what it's done is it's united the working classes. The support that's been demonstrated in the last few weeks has been fantastic, and obviously this has caught them completely on the hop, and it's sending a clear message. What we've got to do is never mind pay restraint, never mind them talk to us about inflation. I'll take no lectures on inflation from a government that has seen more billionaires created than it's ever been, and more money that's ever been created, a complete disparity in wealth that's out there, the PP scandal, and the mismanagement of the COVID pandemic. I will take no lectures on pay restraint from these people. What it's done is it's emboldened the working class. All workers deserve a pay rise. So the main message here is for me to come here and say thank you sincerely for the support you've afforded to us. We will fight. RMT members are determined. We have our colleagues from ASLEF and the TSSA will hopefully be out and joining us in action in the not too distant future. We are determined. We will continue to fight. We will get a fair deal for our workers. But the main message I want to come here and say is every working class struggle that's out there now, we need to stick together, and the RMT will be on every single picket line. We will be supporting workers in struggle, and we're determined to win. So victory to the RMT and victory to working class people in general. Thank you.
We're going to have another speaker from the CWU now.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me today. So my name's Di Jenkins and I'm the chairperson of the South Wales branch, the Swansea and West Wales section, just working in the town block there. Fully supported the RMT today, and we're in the middle of a ballot now with all our members in EE, in Openreach and BT. Okay, we've went to the table with them to try and negotiate pay, and they imposed a pay deal on us. Now, it's not about imposing that pay deal, it's bigger than that, because if they get away with imposing pay deals, the next thing we're doing is coming after our terms and conditions, okay? Now, my father and my grandfather fought for my terms and conditions. I'm fighting for mine, yeah, but more importantly than that, I'm fighting for the youngsters coming behind me, okay? Because they're the ones that are taking less pay, they're the ones that are having less terms and conditions, okay? And this movement needs to move forward. It talked about swimming. We'll be swimming fast. We'll be catching you up here in the next couple of weeks. Our ballot result is going to be on the 30th, okay? As you know, we've got to get a massive turnout, and we've got to get a big yes vote. We're working hard behind the scenes, making sure that we comply to the laws, and it's important that you do for them, so that we can get a yes vote and turn out and support, okay? So we're with you all the way, and we're not far behind you. Thank you very much.
Next speaker will be Anne from...
Didn't expect this. I'll be short and sweet. I actually think it's great today. We got to, you know, there's quite a lot of us and all over the country today, as there is supporting. I know we're an outside trade, retail and shop workers, but at the end of the day, together we are united. If you stand alone, you're on your own. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's important. And what we got to remember is, right, what gets me on the rails is people like Mandy. She could be there, the only one on her own on a train. Whether you're male or female, at the end of the day, a lot of things happen, especially when you're on a train. I've been on the train and frightened to death, because there are some people on the train that become violent and things like that. We've got to stick together. They deserve it. They're doing a job. They're giving a service to the public, so let's keep it up. Thank you.
Will be Gareth from Insulate Britain.
Hi, I'm Gareth, representing Insulate Britain and Just Stop Oil. Just Stop Oil stands with those making a defiant stand against the harmful government and a system that exploits people for their labour as it does the living world for its finite resources. That includes the RMT rail workers. We will not deal with the cost of living crisis by forcing ordinary people to work in poverty while companies make record profits. It's economically illiterate. 250 years ago, trade unions were legalised because people broke the law and collectively withdrew their labour in civil resistance against the harmful system. Now it needs to happen again. We need jobs that are going to continue for centuries, not just for the next 10 years. We need to build grassroots movements, a coalition which empowers ordinary people to resist and break down the barriers that prevent them from acting. Employers don't have to sack employees who are protesting. It ought to be the duty of trade unions to stand up for their members. Various climate groups have supported the recently sacked P&O workers, the Great Ormond Street security staff, and most poignantly striking workers in the Foley oil refinery in Southampton. This is the solidarity we need, like that shown in between the miners and the queer movement in the 80s. This is what we need to rediscover, with grit and determination and courage. Because at this moment of consequence, we need to stand in solidarity with life itself. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Tim. I think he's representing Community as Chairs. You correct me if I'm wrong.
No. Am I audible? I'm audible. Good. I'm Tim Evans. I'm chair of a Swansea branch of Unite's Community. We organise people who are not in a particular workplace. We had our monthly meeting Friday, and we passed a motion of support calling on other trade unions to take action as well, so that we can coordinate. If you're interested in reading the whole statement, I've stuck it up on Facebook. If you look at my timeline, you'll see it there. This is the most important industrial dispute for a generation. We should not underestimate how important this is. People have talked about the industrial struggles of the 80s, and the reason that the Tories won then was because they took people on one after another. Salami tactics, they called it, the Ridley plan. So they dealt with each union one at a time. What eventually happened at the end of the 80s was the poll tax, and that affected everybody. And we turned out, we went to Trafalgar Square, and we toppled not just the poll tax, we toppled bloody Margaret Thatcher as well. Which was, so that was how I remember those days, and the same thing is happening again. They want to demonise the RMT, but they're failing. For the first time I can remember, I've seen news items from incredibly right-wing papers, the Evening Standard, the Spectator. There are things that actually is supportive of the strike. So I think things are changing. I think this is a turning point. The whole is not going to affect just rail workers. It's not going to affect just trade unionists. It's going to affect everybody, the whole society. I think we can win this. I think we can turn it around. And remember, the attacks are coming from everywhere. Just look over the pond. Roe v. Wade. That has been overturned. The right wing is coming for us. And we need to show them that we are the majority. We are the majority. So I will end it there. Thanks for letting me speak. And solidarity with the RMT.
Our next speaker is Ocean from Socialist Students.
Well, comrades, like Mark said, I'm here from Socialist Students. We've got other students that have come down from Socialist Students as well. And I think it's important to say that for young people, I don't think that we've seen in our generation any industrial action that has galvanised the feelings of young people like this has. It's clear now that the RMT are who the government are taking on today. Well, it'll be everyone else next. This is a movement that now needs to be built on by the other trade unions. This has shown what militant trade unionism can achieve. The TV appearances by people from the RMT that young people now who aren't involved in politics are looking at and seeing that there is an option out there for working class people, and there is a way to organise and to fight back against this rotten Tory government that is attacking working class people and workers' rights. And it's important. And it's important that we say as well that this issue is about, whilst wages are important and keeping up with inflation is hugely important for working class people, It's about more than that. It's about attacks on terms and conditions. It's about attacks on safety and so on. And these are issues that affect working class people up and down the country. And we need to send a clear message to Keir Starmer, who whipped his own MPs to not turn up to RMT picket lines. Well, I tell you what, if he won't stand with workers, workers will stand with each other and build a mass movement to fight against the Tories. And a message to his shadow cabinet as well, that they should be on these picket lines and supporting. It's all well and good supporting with words in Parliament. Get on the picket lines and support the workers in person and in struggle. Like I said, I'm here with socialist students. Every day that this dispute goes on, we'll be down here on your picket lines supporting you, supporting this dispute, but also fighting for a nationalised transport system and a socialist plan of economy and of transport in this country. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Misha, Stand Up to Racism.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, so again, solidarity to RMT and all the workers who are striking, and your fight is our fight, as people have said already. So in terms of the attacks that working class people are facing, the austerity, years of cutbacks, I'm Unison as well, we've all had a pay cut over the years, and the Tories are continuing to do that. But it's also linked to the fact that Tories' hostile environment, which we've seen over the years, to try and scapegoat refugees, asylum seekers, migrants, all of that is linked to the attacks on working class people when it comes to austerity and the cost of living. And they're going to continue to promote that hostile environment. We've seen that in the Nationality and Borders Act, which has now passed, which is going to make things even harder for refugees, asylum seekers to come and seek refuge. And in Swansea, we are a city of sanctuary. We have always had welcome for refugees, asylum seekers and migrants. And just this week, we had Richard Number, people may not be aware of, a Congolese guy who has been wanting the right to remain here, was taken by the detention people and put in the Brook House, Gatwick, with a view to deporting him back to Congo, which would have been absolutely horrendous for him, no doubt about that. Luckily, what's happened is, because of people like yourselves and other people who really showed solidarity and made sure that big sort of noise is made about that, Richard was released yesterday, I'm pleased to say, and he's back in Swansea. So I think that might just be for Richard obviously is huge, but also what it shows that racism, the only role racism plays is to divide working class people, divide black and white workers. It is not in our interest to have racism, as an ideology to divide us. It's very, very important that we stand united, as we stand united today, in terms of solidarity to the RMT workers and other workers about to go on strike. It's very important that as black and white workers, we stand united against racism, that we challenge it wherever it arises in every form, and that we make sure that the Tories don't get away with their hostile environment and using racism to divide us. Refugees are welcome here, Tories are not. Thanks very much.
Right, thank you, Misha. Our next speaker will be Charlie for Youth Fight for Jobs.
Hi comrades, I'll keep it fairly brief, as there have already been so many speakers who've touched upon things that I want to talk about, but far better than I possibly could. Youth Fight for Jobs wishes to attack the root cause of evil in society. It wishes to fight against wishes to fight against poor conditions. It wishes to fight against inequality in work. We wish to fight for better houses for young people and for a better living system in general. And because of that, we've decided today to come out in support of the strike. We wish to offer our solidarity and extend our fraternal hand towards the RMT. part of what we wish to do is unite different unions upon several different issues. We wish to work alongside many different unions to form a front against the Conservative government and against the vicious attacks upon the working class that have been represented by austerity, and that's why today we've come out in support of the RMT. Solidarity.
Okay, no taking photos now, so it goes to Keir Starmer. Okay, we've got now Geraint, Labour MP for Swansea West.
Yeah, and by the way, just in case there's any confusion, I'm not from the Thunderbirds. Right, I know, I look a bit like that, but the reason I'm here and you're here is because Boris Johnson has created this strike. This is Boris Johnson's strike, let's be clear about this. The TSSA were offered and accepted a 7% pay deal in Merseyside. The RMT have asked for 7%, 3% below inflation. And the government's come back and said you can have 3%, we'll cut thousands of workers. So what did he expect to happen? Well, he's created this strike. So let's be clear about that. What else could he do? I mean, what are they doing in Germany? In Germany, if we lived in Germany, you'd have a travel card for €9 a month to use public transport all month. For 3 months you could do this. And what does that do? It gets people onto the public transport, it generates more demand, it generates more investment in a sustainable future, it helps people with inflation, it helps people with energy, it helps people with the cost of living crisis, it helps an environment where you can have a social contract that we all move together, trade unions and business and the economy. But instead this strike will cost this economy billions and billions of pounds, and it's created and orchestrated by Johnson. And of course those costs dwarf any savings in what are pay cuts or job cuts that will go to the shareholders in Johnson's world. So this does not need to happen. The other thing is you can see the fingerprints of Johnson and Grant Shapps all over this. We've seen it in Swansea, haven't we? I was involved, as many of you may have been, with the DVLA dispute. They hadn't gone on strike before. There was an agreement between the management and the unions over a COVID safety agreement. They were going to go ahead with it. And what happened? Grant Shapps came in, he pulled it to cause a strike. Why did he cause a strike? Because he wanted an excuse for privatisation. So we've seen this strategy before, haven't we? We've seen what he's doing. And so we've got a situation now where they're creating a strike, and they said, oh, well, let's have some agency workers, putting the British public at risk. These are highly qualified, skilled jobs. We're just going to have a lot of agency workers so we can go around without any safety. So it's going to cost billions, but what we need, of course, instead, those billions he's going to lose for the economy should have been invested in a modern new green transport infrastructure. And let's be clear, we deserve that money anyway. We deserve our 5% of HS2 that has been denied. HS2 is going north-south, it's taking investment out of Wales. That's worth £4.6 billion. And even now the Tories in Wales have accepted that we've been shortchanged. We won our 4.6 billion. So wouldn't it be a better world if we put that money in to electrify our trains, our buses, at a proper integrated network, at hydrogen, got people back on a public transport and a sustainable future, instead of just stopping the whole thing, which is what Johnson has done. Let's be clear about this. Johnson has done this, he's caused that. And what's what? He said, oh, well, I'll tell you what then, we need to cut some people and modernise. Well, what does that mean? Well, I think what it means is that when you get on a train, in particular if you're a woman late at night and you're a bit worried about some drunk and something kicks off, there's not going to be a guard. If you're a disabled person waiting in a rural I don't know, in a rural train station, trying to get on a train, there'll be no guard to help you on the train, will there? I mean, is that in the interest of travelling public to enforce sort of sex-segregated carriages to protect women because we want to make these cuts? Of course we don't. We want expansion of a modernised a green system for the future. So why has he caused this strike? We know he's caused this strike. So why has he caused this strike? Well, basically,
let's look at it. We've got the worst COVID death rate in Europe, 170,000 dead. We've got the slowest recovery in the G7. We've got the highest inflation. We've got rampant hunger. When Labour left power, there was 26,000 people on food banks. There's now 2.6 million, right? 100 times that level. And we're the 6th richest country in the world. So obviously the wheels are falling off. And what's more, on top of all that, because he claims he's getting the big issues right, but he's getting them all wrong, he's lied, isn't he? He's broken the law. And they've had a vote of 211 Tory MPs of confidence in him. 211 MPs out of 650 MPs, right? 1 in 3, or less than 1 in 3 MPs across Britain have confidence in the Prime Minister. And he knows he'll face another, vote in May. So what's he doing? So what is he doing? He's crashing the economy, creating this strike, because everything else is going on, and he wants to call an election. If it's who runs Britain? Is it the trade unions on strike, or is it me? And I'm going to enforce all these anti-union, anti-strike, and I've already banned the right to peaceful protest. We're lucky at the moment the police haven't moved in to stop this. Where are we going in this country? Basically, Boris Johnson isn't fit to run this country. We celebrate this year 125 years since the birth of Aaron Bevan, who founded the Health Service. And he called the Tories vermin, didn't he? And the biggest rat, of course, is Johnson. He's unfit to lead. He should be out. He's caused this strike. Let's stay together. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think I'm going to bring the rally to a close. I will ask Mandy to come in at the end and make some final comments. It's been raised about the TUC demo in London, which raises workers' confidence about that they can win, that they can struggle. And this strike is very important, obviously, for our team members, but it's also important to give workers a sense of their strength and what we need to be working together towards now is we need to go back to our respective unions and make sure that if we're balloting, that we make sure that we make sure those ballots achieve the 50% threshold and are successful. And then what we need is collective action. The RMT should not be fighting alone. No union should be fighting alone. We should be taking collective action. And we should be demanding of our unions that they demand that the TUC call a 24-hour general strike. Whether they call it that, we talk about the law, you can call it what you like, but it means collective action by the unions means we could kick the Tories out. Of course, what we get instead of them is another matter, but let's kick it down and win these disputes. We can win inflation-proof pay rises, but only by collective struggle. So with that, I'll ask Mandy to make closing remarks.
What else can I say? I'm overwhelmed this morning. I've been overwhelmed Tuesday, Thursday. Some of my colleagues have been a bit apprehensive, but I want to thank you all. You all know who you are for coming. Most of us are, well, we're all on board services and we work every day. We know what the struggles are, but I've been an activist since 1978. Now we know how old I am. But it touches my heart, and sincerely I want to thank every single one of you for your solidarity today. It means a lot to us. It means a lot to us all, and we've got to step forward and we've got to fight for our rights, not only in work but our everyday living practices, because otherwise we've got nothing. People are not surviving. We've got children with no food in their belly. We've got people with no roof over their head. This is the start of the better life for them. So thank you all for your support, and we'll see you on the next picket line, brothers and sisters.